What is up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the reel of reality TV. All right. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this really quick because I recently talked a little bit about the fact that Funky Dineva issued an apology to Melody, as well as the supporters of hers that label themselves Melodyrodgers, and also just talking about the fact that he is now reviewing the show again after not reviewing the show for several seasons, and how I, as well as some people, had the thoughts that Carlos might be behind it. Now, while I will say I do not believe that Carlos is paying him a dime, because let's be clear, Carlos does not have it like that to be paying Funky Dineva in terms of what Funky Dineva could make reviewing the show and just, using that as content on his own channel versus being paid by Carlos to do so. But like he said, if somebody was paying him to do it, he wouldn't turn down a check. And I 100% believe that, but that also is what leads me to believe that I stand by what I said. And this is not a knock to Funky Dineva, because people get fired, people have contracts not renewed all of the time. All of the time. It's a business decision. Sometimes it's just the money. Sometimes it's a combination and a mix of all of those things. But I do not believe that he just quit because they did not want to give him what he was asking for in terms of his contract negotiations, when he claims, he's the one that put it out there, he claims that he was being paid $250,000 a year to sit and talk about trending stories that he didn't even have to scrounge the internet for, to find out what people are discussing and talk about it. He was pretty much given the topics to talk about, and then he just shares his thoughts on that content. And he was being paid $250,000 to do so, and he decided to walk away from it because they didn't want to give him what he was asking for when it was time for the contract to be renegotiated. I don't simply believe that. That's just my personal thoughts. People are free to believe what they want to believe, and I could be wrong. But what I'm saying is I don't believe that, because if he says that if Carlos was paying him between $3,000 to $5,000 to review the show, he wouldn't turn down the check, then why would you turn down $250,000 to continue to be on TGIF on Fox Soul to talk about trending stories and topics that he didn't have to find out what, is going on online and just talk about it? I just don't believe that. But again, that's neither here nor there. This isn't even about that. But what I wanted to say is the fact that I don't believe Carlos paid him to review the show again. Now, while I will believe that he is doing it because, he is getting paid to do so from Google, doing that content. It's content to do. He hasn't watched the show in some years. He hasn't reviewed the show in some years. And he's no longer doing TGIF. So he ain't got nothing but time, in my personal opinion, but to do that. Because now that he's going live Monday through Friday, competing with TGIF on Fox Soul, which he's still doing. I'm actually surprised that he's still doing that, because I really didn't expect him to keep it up at this point in time, because I knew initially he was doing it to be petty, but I'm quite sure those checks are looking nice. And so he's continuing to do it, but he's asking his followers, what do you all want to talk about? Which there's nothing wrong with asking your followers or your tribe, your community, whatever people call it, asking them their opinions about things or asking them what they would like to talk about. That's cool. He didn't have to do that before when he was doing TGIF. And is, if we're being quite honest about it, he was kind of neglecting his channel a little bit because he was mainly doing that. Okay. But with all of that being said, I believe that, Carlos is definitely utilizing this as an opportunity to promote his show. But this is what I'm going to say. I don't believe that it's going to help the ratings of the show. I'm not saying that it might not have a few more people tune in that might not have watched it before by having the likes of Funky Dineva, Sherelle's World, the bigger YouTube content creators like the Kempires, the DJ Richie Skies, who've been doing it anyway. They ain't doing it because Carlos reached out to them and say, please help me save my show. Please review it and talk about it. So no, they were already doing it. But what that being said, I believe more people are watching those who review the content versus watching the show, because the show really ain't all that. I got hooked on it, and I told you guys the reason why I got hooked on it in the beginning, and I'm not going to keep going over that. But even, in all of those years that I was watching it, I really was watching it in a multitasking sort of sense, because I wasn't like so intrigued by the show that there's a lot of stuff that I kind of miss low-key that has made me decide to go back and watch the older seasons. I'm not going to help the ratings by watching the new season. And so I'll watch the content creators that I tune into. I'll watch the clips on Instagram. And hey, if I decide to watch it on the app, maybe a week or so after that episode is aired, so I'm not helping the ratings of the show, I can do that. But I'm not going to be watching it when it comes on. I'm not recording it on my DVR. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to help the ratings. That's what I choose not to do. And that was a decision that I made. It wasn't because someone said boycott the show or black it out, and then I'm like, okay, I'm all set, I'm on board. I'm doing it because it's my own personal decision, because the fact of the matter is Martel Hotel, Arion's baby wife, Holt, is a malignant, psychopathic narcissist, in my personal opinion. And the fact is, we have been seeing this woman be persecuted throughout this show. And albeit she has been strong and determined and all of those things, it doesn't make her less of a victim. And that's what angers me when I see how people are trying to root for him, even if they're not rooting for him, but they are trying to downplay it like it wasn't a big deal. He was locked up over a text message, or like some people down there say, a test message. It's text, T-E-X-T, not test, not Texas, text, okay? But I digress. It angers me. So I chose to not help the ratings of the show because I believe that it just needs to be done. That's my personal opinion. It's not that I'm trying to hurt the person that I feel like needs to be supported, and that is the victim, and that is his ex-wife. I just am not here for the show anymore, even with her being an executive producer of it. So I don't believe that Carlos has paid Funky Dineva. So I believe him when he says that it did not happen. But here's the other thing that I believe, or I don't believe. I do not believe that Funky Dineva and the Scotts are friends. The Scotts are clearly opportunists, and Funky Dineva is not against a free product, some free drinks, because he's always talking about being down to the bar. And it's just an opportunity for him. But to say that the Scotts and he are friends, I don't believe so. I believe that he would call Letitia's mama names to her face, and she would sit there and laugh at it like it's a joke. And it's like, he's not laughing with you, he's laughing at you, because you are pretty much a joke. And he has run down Letitia over those years when he was reviewing the show, okay? And be quite frankly, quite honest about it. I didn't really care for the commentary that he did about Melody at that point in time when he did. So that would kind of give the appearance that he and the Scotts are somehow connected, and that's why he decided to go off on Melody. I don't really know what that was about, but I definitely do not believe that they are friends. Because let's be clear, my belief is Marsau, the only reason why he would even choose to have a conversation with Funky Dineva is because it's business. That when they had that drink, chocolate in a bottle, which to me sounded gross because I'm not a big chocolate person, so I can't even fathom drinking a chocolate flavored alcoholic beverage. That's just my thing. And so it just sounded cheap in my personal opinion. But yeah, he used Funky Dineva to shill that product, and Funky Dineva was getting some free product off of it, and maybe a kickback or an affiliate coin. You know what I mean? So that was about business. But also, Marsau, he realizes that being in this industry of entertainment, you're going to see gay men everywhere. But if he were not in the industry now, like he and his wife have had the opportunity to be by way of Melody and getting the opportunity to be on the show, well, Melody and Hotel, because she wasn't even really friends with them. She, from what I heard, the couples that she had given as recommendations to be on the show, they pretty much picked his picks over hers. So I digress. There goes the reason why you don't really see a whole lot of those people on there that were really in support of her and called her bougie or all the other names that they've called her, right? It kind of makes even more sense now. But seeing that the freaking man that they're working with, Carlos King, is a homosexual man. But do you really believe that these so-called alpha males, but they're not alpha males. They're not. They just use the title of that. They're misogynistic creeps. Do you really believe that these are the type of guys, males, that would associate themselves with homosexual men? No, they strike me as the type to call those homosexual men, the same ones that they've been working with, the F word. That rhymes with maggot. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. I am quite sure that they have used that term in their lifetime, if not just once, multiple times. But because it's an opportunity and they're getting the check, now you are trying to be closely connected to these people. But I'm quite sure, Funky Dineva knows that too. This is business for him. I don't believe that he and the Scotts are any more friends than any of the other people that he called a friend, like Tamika Raymond, when he was going off on her and said, now listen, y'all, she's my friend. I got her phone number. And then Tamika Raymond came out and read him for filth and gave the definition of a friend, of which she was saying he was not one. Okay? So with all of those things being said, they're not friends. I do not believe that they're friends. I believe that Funky Dineva is reviewing the show because it's money for him. Him having this down to the bar meetup at Black Cigar Lounge, I believe it is business. It is something that they need for their lounge that allegedly has not really been open like that. And so they just don't sound like really good business people, in my personal opinion, Marsau and Letitia. Him coming out, windmilling on his live, cursing out the people that label themselves a label that are supporters of Melody, to say I effing hate them, when that is a vast majority of the audience that watches the show. He is stupid. That's their bread and butter. If if we really want to be honest about it, it seems like. And so to curse all of those people out, I just felt like was just extremely stupid. Like, you just have so much pride that you couldn't even hold it in. You had to let all of that out to piss these people off even more and to say, I effing hate them. I don't want those people coming to my business. If they ever came, I would kick them out. What type of business owner says things like that? Of course, you never want, as a business owner, you never want someone to come into your establishment that's going to be, making a scene or, causing problems. But if someone just came there to have a drink and to have an appetizer or whatever and enjoy the scenery and talk about the place and give their review on it, but they're not there making a scene or being disrespectful, but because they said they're a millimeter, you would kick them out of your business. That is just absolutely ridiculous. I've been a brick and mortar business owner since 2008, and to ever even say something like that is just asinine, especially to do it in a public forum, in a public place. To say something like that is absolutely crazy. So I believe that's going to come back to bite them down the line. We'll see when it happens, but it will happen. And I don't believe that Funky Dineva is actually friends with these people. It's all an opportunity. It's all about money. It's all about business. And because, Marsau is using Funky Dineva because of his audience and all of these different things like that, he's keeping, I believe, the homophobic feelings and issues that he has under wraps for the sake of business when it comes to people like Carlos King even and Funky Dineva. You cannot tell me that he and his brother, especially Hotel, don't have those homophobic ways. I mean, Hotel, he did it with his own brother-in-law. He doesn't feel comfortable with their uncle babysitting his children. Like, what kind of stuff is that? It comes from the homophobia, the misogynist, ways, and it's just disgusting. So, yeah, I don't believe Carlos King is paying Funky Dineva, but I definitely believe that he is utilizing the opportunity to try to promote the show more. But I don't believe it's going to help the ratings. I believe that Funky Dineva would probably get more views than the show, would, in terms of people who are really tuned in. I don't believe it's going to make people who were not watching the show go and watch the show because he's reviewing it. Because, to be quite honest, the people who review the show, sometimes their reviews last longer than the episode. So people can just watch the content creators and listen to their reviews over watching the show. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. You can let me know yours. Thanks so much for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.